Hey, what's going on, everybody? Dr. Philip Fletcher here with the Humanity Matters Weekly for the first Sunday in October. I hope everybody is doing amazing today. We're here to talk about faith and philosophy, nonprofit leadership, and social issues. We want to talk about the ideas to what can contribute to our human flourishing. Hey, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Humanity Matters Weekly. Also, like my Facebook page, Dr. Philip Fletcher. Also, you can find me on Instagram, Dr. Philip Fletcher, as well as on Twitter at Phil Fletcher. It is great to be with everyone on this Sunday. I hope everything is going great for everybody. Quickly, just want to thank some of my sponsors once again. Bradley out of Texas, out of Arkansas, John, and also out of Arkansas, Dan. I appreciate your support in the work that I am doing to just talk about the message of human dignity and the importance of that dignity in every man, woman, and child. If you would like to participate and be a sponsor, hit me up. Just email me, humanitymatterspodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you got a question, you can email me at the same address, humanitymatterspodcast@gmail.com. And as always, jump over to the to my website, philipfletcher.org. Been a great week, a lot of great things going on, and a lot of hard things going on. Hey, if you're in Springdale, Fayetteville area in Arkansas, I will be up there on Saturday, October 24th. I will be speaking along with Ricky Dale Harrington. He is the Libertarian candidate who is running against Senator Tom Cotton. So that'll be pretty fun. So I'll be up there. So if you're there in that area, hey, come check me out. Slap me a high five, a fist bump. You know, I got it. People are social distancing and all that, but we'd love to meet and connect with you. I'll be putting out more information about that event when the details are released. So a lot going on. We had the debates happen this past Tuesday, and then President Donald Trump and his wife, the First Lady, they caught the corona. They caught COVID-19, and so obviously they have to quarantine. But in the midst of that, things got kind of crazy. I reflected on my Facebook page. You can go check that out. How I was really remiss at the response by those who would call themselves or count themselves as being Christian. A lot of depersonalization that was happening. What do I mean by depersonalization? Well, first of all, I am what would be considered a Christian personalist. All right. So if you think of someone like Thomas Aquinas, fast forward more near, French philosopher, if you fast forward some more here in America, out of Boston University, the Boston School of Personalists, probably the most famous graduate is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who has shaped a lot of how I think and approach my work and everybody here. He was a Christian personalist, and my nonprofit's pretty much been shaped by that. And essentially what that is that it recognizes that in beings who are human, we have a high level of dignity and worth that separates us from all other beings. Secondly, from a Christian perspective, it is my understanding that this dignity and worth rests in, is founded in the fact, the reality that every man, woman, and child from conception is shaped in the image and likeness of God. It is his image is in us. And so we have value, we have worth. We are subjects, not objects. Whereas an object can be used, is malleable, it is a means to an end. Human beings, we are the end, with God, if you will, being the supreme personality, if you will. Him being the final end that we would see face to face. All right. And so I am a personalist. Now, there's different strains of personalism, like anything else, right? That is what it has helped shape who I am as a just someone who works here in Arkansas. Now, depersonalization then would look at a human being and then say, you're not a subject, but you are instead an object. All right. Um, so, what was seen and what was talked about and what I saw on social media and news discussions is this idea that because of the things that President Donald Trump has said in the past, okay, how he leads as a president. Now, I've been pretty vocal that he has very poor leadership. I didn't vote for him. I'm not going to vote for him in the next 30 days. But nonetheless, he is a human being made in the image and likeness of God with all of his failings, his foibles, his sins, his however you want to describe them, right? He, like me, like you, is a person. He's a person. He's a subject. But some of the things I saw a meme that said this. Now, this is on borderline depersonalization, right? And I quote, "It's the ultimate gaslighting that the country is being asked to pray for their abuser and being shamed for not feeling sorry for him." So, there's a lot of things that are running underneath that statement, right? One, characterizing President Donald Trump as an abuser, right? Which there's little to no evidence of that, and that he's using his power to abuse American citizens. Okay. Um, and now it's flipped back on people who are asking people, hey, we should pray for our leaders. All right. We should pray for our leaders. So I would be counted as one, quote unquote, who would be, quote unquote, shaming someone who is not praying for President Donald Trump, which I'm not. What I'm simply highlighting this is that we have come through a crazy year of 2020. And many Christians have challenged others using the name of Jesus, using the gospel, appealing to loving your neighbor, that if a person is not going to participate in regards to quarantine and wearing masks and so on and so forth, that those individuals are not living up to the highest Christian ideals. But if you really think about it, the highest Christian ideal, and Jesus actually talks about this, is that one of the highest Christian ideals is the love that you demonstrate to someone who is not like you, your other, your enemy, if you will, President Donald Trump. We can move forward in what was happening with all the different unrest in regards to what happened to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, those men and women who sadly passed away due to police interaction. In the case of Ahmaud Arbery, a non-police interaction. And again, Christians were challenging other Christians to live up to this high ideal of being sympathetic and empathetic to those who are Black American citizens, and to do otherwise, those persons were being considered as being complicit in white supremacy, not understanding all the privilege that they have, not loving their Black Christian brothers and sisters. And so now when we get to actually one of the highest Christian ideals of what it means to love the person whom you disagree with, whom you have significant issues with, right? Whom you disagree with politically, if you will, he is in the Good Samaritan story. All right. When the lawyer comes to ask Jesus, who is my neighbor? And Jesus essentially demonstrates in the telling of the parable this ethnic conflict that was happening between Jews and Samaritans. Okay. He used the Samaritan as the hero of the story to demonstrate and to teach the lawyer this is what mercy is. Show mercy to the Samaritan in your real life. Just like in the parable, the Samaritan showed mercy to the Jew who had been robbed. So it's not gaslighting. It is calling to one of the highest Christian ideals of loving one's neighbor through the means of prayer, and that neighbor being, in this immediate case, President Donald J. Trump. And so, in my estimation, really the Christian response for many has been actually driven politically. Hey, this is Dr. Philip Fletcher with Humanity Matters Weekly. Hey, email me, humanitymatterspodcast@gmail.com. Also, check out my podcast, Humanity Matters. You can find that on anchor.fm, Spotify, on Apple, or wherever you get your podcast content. Like my Facebook page, Dr. Philip Fletcher, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. Would greatly appreciate it. So, Saturday Night Live gives a prime example of depersonalization, of looking at a human being, in this case, President Donald Trump, and now implicitly hoping that he dies. And so in this, Jim Carrey, he is in the character, he is as a actor playing the character of Joe Biden, and I forget the other actor's name, Baldwin, I think he is. He is playing President Donald Trump. And in this, President, Vice President, former Vice President, the presidential candidate, Joseph Biden, essentially puts two things, science and karma, and how these things, if they were to come together in regards to Corona, and then he turns and he looks at President Donald Trump in this skit. And the implication is that what would happen if science and karma would have come together and really get back at President Donald Trump. So now a very popular television show, Saturday Night Live, is implying, one, hoping that President Donald Trump would get sick. Now, in this, they are mocking the debate that happened on a Tuesday, okay? And then President Donald Trump made his announcement Thursday, I believe, Thursday. And it's pretty sad where we're at right now as a nation, that it seems easier, we're more cavalier about depersonalizing individuals. So we've made the argument, people have made the argument, people have walked in the streets in regards to the police interactions with a George Floyd or a Breonna Taylor specifically. And those actions that happened were depersonalization. The end result of depersonalization is that when you move the human being from a subject to the object, then the opportunity to do harm or to say harmful things to him or her become justifiable. So the outcomes of depersonalization are this. One is being created between us as human beings on the basis of skin color. The mediation in regards to political affiliation, whom you vote for, whom you're not going to vote for. To empathize, like hundreds of thousands of people in America have had COVID-19. I've had someone in my family have COVID-19, and thankfully she recovered. People have died because of COVID-19. Now, we have back and forth debates on the best approach and how to address COVID-19, but nonetheless, this virus had significant impact on the lives, the health of the United States. And it's nothing to be laughed at. It's nothing to be mocked. It's nothing to, if you will, wish on somebody. I can only imagine how somebody would react if someone in their family caught COVID-19 and somebody else came along who had an issue with that family member or dear loved one, and they began to mock them. How then would we feel? So there's a lack of willingness to empathize. That's a result of depersonalization. The third thing is this: is that there's a rationalization of reasons not to empathize. Let's look at it, right? So let's move back. So Donald Trump, well, I'm not going to pray for him. You know, if he recovers, that's what he deserves. He should have did better. Don't you remember the interview that was, that was caught on tape with the book that just came out with Woodward? Yeah, so he caught it, right? So there's this implication he deserved it. Wow. So let's look at like what happened with George Floyd. Let's look at what happened with Breonna Taylor. All of these things were trafficked out. Well, did you know George Floyd had this record? Did you know Breonna Taylor was dating this former drug dealer? As if those things were a justification for why those unfortunate events happened to that man and that woman. And then finally, an outcome of depersonalization is this: is that rationalizing actions of violence or acts restricting freedom based on some form of misplaced righteousness. And so I think there's a misplaced righteousness going on right now, that men and women are feeling as if they are on the side of the angels, as if they are cheering. See, God, I saw a tweet that said Ruth Bader Ginsburg basically appealed to God and God gave Donald Trump corona. What type of theology is that? The theology is so tragic. I don't have the time to really delve into that in terms of soteriology, in terms of theodicy, in terms of the providence and the sovereignty of God, like for real. But nonetheless, there's this misplaced righteousness that men and women are feeling as if they are on the side of angels by saying he got what he deserved. If he had planned better, maybe this wouldn't have happened. He made those statements about it is what it is in regards to corona. See, he deserves it. Like, all of those are elements of depersonalization. And what we have seen in real time, like in the case of George Floyd, was depersonalization. In the case of Jacob Blake was depersonalization. Even in the case of Ahmaud Arbery, depersonalization. We're so much better than this. Hey, this is Dr. Philip Fletcher with Humanity Matters Weekly, and we have been looking at depersonalization and what that is looking like here in America. Maybe it's happening around your kitchen table. Maybe it's happening in your family, your extended family, maybe at your workplace. Then we have to ask ourselves, are we moving people from the place of subject, men and women shaped in the image and likeness of God, who have dignity and worth, who have value, and who have human agency, who are rational, reasonable beings? Are we moving them from the place of subject, where we should approach them as we would want our own selves approached? Are we moving them from subject to this slow decline to object? And as we move them to object, we find ways to justify treating this object to the point we don't want this object in existence. So, what does it mean to move ahead? We have to really think about what does it mean to move ahead. So, four things for everybody. One is the recognition of self. Looking at yourself, again, you're unique, you're remarkable, you're unrepeatable, you have purpose. You're asking yourself, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing in this world? Why am I here? Everybody is asking those questions in some form or fashion. It's a recognition of self that you have hopes and dreams, that you experience heights of joy and deep valleys of hard times. It's the recognition of self that you are seeking to not only improve your life, but you are trying to contribute in some form or fashion to the life or lives of others. Second, it's the recognition of sameness. Again, we are tied together. We have a shared dignity because we've been all made in the image and likeness of God. But we also have a sameness because we all have this conviction, this pursuit of working to discover what is the ultimate significance of life. Is what I am doing, what is it leading towards? Again, we have this sameness. Third, it's a recognition of suffering. Suffering is coming for every human being. It's unavoidable. We're going to experience it directly, and we're also going to experience it indirectly because somebody close to us is going to be suffering. A close family member or a distant family member is going to be suffering. Someone you work with, maybe a classmate. We have to recognize that all of us suffer and not make light of that suffering, nor try to dismiss that suffering. Finally, it's the recognition of sympathy. So in the Good Samaritan parable in Luke chapter 10, there is this fundamental understanding that there has to be sympathy. That for the Levite and the priest, they saw the man injured on the road, and for whatever reason, they kept going forward. For whatever reason, they chose not to respond sympathetically in regards to the situation of the individual. It was not until the Samaritan, the person that is ostracized, the person that is despised, okay, who is the other in that culture, he was sympathetic to the situation of the person on the ground. That word sympathy is from the bowels. Another word we get compassion, to suffer with. So is it gaslighting to ask Christians who name the name of the one who suffered for them and suffered with them to emulate Jesus, to suffer with someone who is not like them? I don't think so. It's not gaslighting to ask a Christian who experienced sympathy from God, who's not like any human being, right? But he is like us because he became like us in the form of Jesus Christ. It's not gaslighting to ask someone to love the other because for human beings, we are the other in comparison to God. So we have to find ways to recognize when we are moving down the slow road towards depersonalization, move away from that towards personalization. There's been some ugly events historically when a leader or a group of people have moved towards depersonalization, because depersonalization can end up being genocidal. So when we think of Nazi Germany, when we think of Pol Pot, when we think of what happened in Russia during Stalin, we think of what happened with in China. Depersonalization can be destructive. If we think about here, even in our own country, abortion, that is depersonalization. Again, we have this dignity and worth from conception forward. And so we have to pay attention and recognize when we are moving a human being who is like us in terms of sameness and in terms of dignity, when we're moving them from subject to object. So I hope that was helpful today for everybody for the Humanity Matters Weekly. Hey, check out my nonprofit, the City of Hope Outreach. Website is coho58.org. Also, Hope Village, coho.org. That is a development project I've been working on to build tiny homes for the homeless and veterans and low-income families. Also, our nonprofit initiative, Replicate. And you can find that on our website, coho58.org. Also, you can go to Facebook and you can find those as well. For more information, visit my website, philipfletcher.org. Hey, like my YouTube channel, comment. I love comments. Share it. Like my Facebook page as well, Dr. Philip Fletcher. You can find me on Twitter at Phil Fletcher, also on the IG, Dr. Philip Fletcher. And then for the podcast, subscribe. Hey, give me a rating. I take them all. Okay. It's beautiful to hear from people. So you can find the podcast, Humanity Matters Podcast, on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. So remember to be loved, to be kind, to be generous. If we remember to live in hope, we can do the impossible. Take care. God bless.